This episode is powered by SMUD, Sacramento Municipal Utility District's Shine Awards program benefiting nonprofits for energy efficiency. Apply today. Welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast Network. Our purpose and passion are simple: to highlight the incredible nonprofits that make our communities stronger. Each episode is a chance for these organizations to tell their story in their words, sharing not just what they do, but why it matters to the people they serve, to their supporters, and to all of us who believe in the power of community. Through podcasting, we hope to amplify their voices, inspire connection, and give them one more tool to impact the hearts of donors, partners, and neighbors alike. Our work is made possible through the generous support of our partners. CapTrust, offering fiduciary advice for endowments and foundations. Western Health Advantage, a local, not-for-profit health plan that believes healthcare is more than coverage. It's about caring. CORE, Executive Leadership and Comprehensive Support Services. They work in it so you can work on it. And Five Star Bank, a local, trusted advisor to community nonprofits for over 25 years. Our episode sponsor is Sacramento Venture Philanthropy, a community of generosity combining people, expertise, and capital for good. What happens when one parent sees a need that everyone else has learned to overlook? I'm joined by Salwa Kasabian, founder and executive director of Folsom Hope. What began nearly 18 years ago as a mother's concern for the students attending her children's neighborhood school has grown into a life-changing support system serving elementary, middle school, and high school students throughout the Folsom community. Salwa shares the remarkable story of how a simple realization that many children had nowhere safe to go after school sparked a movement that today provides mentoring, academic support, meals, social-emotional learning, internships, and hope to some of the community's most vulnerable youth. Along the way, you'll hear how partnerships, persistence, faith, and an unwavering commitment to children help build an organization that now impacts hundreds of families each year. We'll talk about breaking cycles of poverty through education, the hidden needs that exist even in communities often perceived as affluent, and why one caring adult can make all the difference in a young person's life. If you've ever wondered how lasting community change begins, this conversation offers a powerful reminder that sometimes it starts with a single person willing to ask, "What can I do to help?" Salwa Kasabian, welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast Network.
Thank you, Jeff. It's nice to be here.
I'm excited to have this conversation.
I am too. Thanks.
We recently did an episode with another organization that was all about literacy. And obviously that's a school-oriented value proposition that's supposed to take place. Mm-hmm. It very directly originates in our schools. Mm-hmm. Literacy is such a big part of it. What you're doing is a step beyond. And it started some 18 years ago. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you hate to hear that, right?
With that old, Jeff.
Right? With your own child.
Yes.
In the school system, to where you said something's not working here. Tell us a little bit about what it was that moved you to orient Folsom's Hope.
Yeah. And it did start with my own children. In Folsom, there are schools that are looked at as desirable to be at and schools that aren't. And I didn't know that when I was starting the journey, having kids and where we lived. And our home school, the school that we were assigned to was Theodore Judah Elementary School. Mm-hmm. And because of all the horrible things I heard about that school, I chose not to send my oldest there. So I requested school choice for her for kindergarten and first grade to a different school. And then the next year, as I choiced her for second grade, I requested school choice, and my son was starting kindergarten. His school choice form got denied. And I got a letter from Theodore Judah Elementary saying, basically, sorry, but your son's coming here. Exactly. And so for me, really, that was a crossroads in my faith journey of, I think this is something I need to listen to. I definitely felt called. So I went and met with the principal. I met with the kindergarten school teacher, and really just not because I wanted to, but really feeling I needed to be obedient. I transferred my kids there the next year, my two older ones. My youngest was still in preschool at the time. So I had come from a school where there were so many parents wanting to be in the classroom that you had to sign up because teachers didn't want too many parents in the classroom.
Because there was such interest from the parents
So
to
many
participate in the
in the
school.
classroom.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a rarity.
Yes. Not in Folsom,
Okay.
except for a couple of schools.
Okay. Theodore Judah being one of them.
Exactly. So made the switch there, and I was the only volunteer in my daughter's second grade class and one of just a couple in my son's kindergarten class. And really just, God just showed me this need that broke my heart. We had been living in Folsom for 10 years at the time. I had no idea that there was this like concentrated area of low income homes, families, and lots of kids that had lots of needs. And it broke my heart. And so about halfway into that first year, was down at the library just down the street from the school with my own kids and saw a bunch of kids coming walking down from school and very clearly heard these children need a place to be after school. And that just put a fire in me. Just like, I don't know what this looks like, but just started a journey. So
From scratch.
yeah.
There was nothing pre-existing,
No.
no source of after-school program whatsoever.
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what did you do? How does one start that from nothing?
Yes. Lots of prayer. God definitely led the way. But the next school year, when my youngest started kindergarten, was when really the connection started being made to create some programming around the need. 17 years ago, there are a couple of the larger churches in Folsom, Lakeside Church and Oak Hills Church, kind of adopted these two schools, Blanche Sprintz Elementary and Theodore Judah Elementary.
Mm.
And a friend of mine was this liaison between Lakeside Church and Blanche Sprintz Elementary, where they adopted. And Oak Hills Church had adopted Theodore Judah Elementary, which basically what that looked like was providing the school with some funds that they would distribute among the teachers in the classrooms for them to use however they want. But I knew like so much more could be done. And so I asked the principal permission to be that liaison, and she said yes. And so I started just this blast email to teachers and staff, like, what do you need? What are the needs that you have that could be potentially serviced by, church volunteers, whatever that looks like? And really just about all of them said supplies, because they were paying for things out of their own pocket for a lot of the kids that couldn't afford to bring stuff themselves. But the school psychologist at the time and a special ed teacher at the time both emailed me back and said, these students need loving adult role models in their lives. And that's what's the impetus for the Lunch Buddy program. Just a very simple, once a week, that consistent, just hang out, build relationship with a kid. So
And it was at lunchtime?
it's during their lunchtime.
Okay.
On campus during their school day. Yeah. So that started. And then in the spring of that same school year, the after school program started. And that was a journey of trying to figure out, which was part of what I mentioned with the fast pitch program, really boiling down the fact that on the Folsom side of the school district, there are no Title I schools. And what that means is there's no government funding for the schools in Folsom to provide the supports like other Title I schools provide, things like after-school programs, lunch buddy mentoring programs, other supports for students that need it. They do not have the funding to do that. So there was nothing. That was me as a volunteer. Really, there was a gentleman at the City of Folsom Parks and Rec Department at the time and the school district superintendent at the time who both really wanted to do something, and the principal helped make that happen. So we just kind of launched this crazy, really without a solid funding stream at the time. And year by year, it just kept going. And here we are, ending our 17th year. Yeah.
That's amazing.
It is amazing.
To start it from scratch with no Title I funding whatsoever and some support from the churches, of course, but really that's it. And the teachers to some degree, but they don't have a lot to contribute.
Yes.
And that's just in material things that the students needed.
Yeah.
How was the concept accepted in the school?
I think it was welcomed. Yeah. I think they knew there were a lot of kids that really did need this support after school. Those magic hours of 3 to 6 where kids get in trouble. I mean, that's what studies will show. That's kids need to be someplace. And a lot of the kids are struggling academically. They need that extra support after school. They need a snack. They need help with their homework and help with foundational academics, to those building blocks that they've missed along the way here and there. And they just need a safe, loving place to be with people who care about them. So,
And I would also imagine just I'm going to say discipline, but at that age, it's not quite the right word. It's just
structure.
Thank you. An orientation of structure.
Absolutely.
To say, here's what happens when you leave school. These things have to get done, otherwise nothing gets done.
Yes. And structure really is safety. It's provides a sense of safety, and that consistency is important.
What grade level are you starting at?
First grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a security element there too for a child that young.
Absolutely.
To say, okay, I feel comfortable here, as opposed to I'm scared, I don't want to go home by myself.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. That is amazing to think that you oriented that from scratch like that. So you have this lunch buddy program that morphs into some after school program, which I'm imagining was relatively small to begin with.
Yeah.
And then today you're serving 29 elementary, 21 middle school students, 8 high school interns. A lot's changed. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So through the years, we were able to secure more funding. And then we incorporated as a nonprofit in 2014, which allowed us then to go after some grant funds, donations, all of that. So pre-COVID, we expanded our after-school program at the elementary school site enough with our partnership with the Parks and Rec Department. They provided us with a recreation leader who would actually go to Blanche Sprintz Elementary and meet students there and walk them over to Theodore Judah. So we had doubled the program back then with both Theodore Judah and Blanche Sprintz students, without having to recreate the entire program at Blanche Sprintz and double the cost of it. So that all happened pre-COVID. We were sitting at about 35 students on the school campus at Theodore Judah After School Elementary. We had a middle school after school program at Sutter Middle as well, which housed about 21 students. And then COVID hit and surprise. So things we had to rebuild from there for sure. But basically last school year, and we lost the connection with Blanche Sprintz Elementary because post-COVID, Parks and Rec did not have the staffing or the funding available to provide us with that rec leader. And so we stopped really being able to have Blanche Sprintz students at our program. So last summer, we had the option of moving to Mount Olive Lutheran Church, which is almost exactly a half mile between both of those two elementary schools. And so we are there now. We're finishing out our first school year there. And that enabled us to, grow our program, get Blanche Sprintz kids back
Ease
engaged.
of access for the kids to come in,
exactly.
yeah.
We actually drop on most days, drop our staff at the school sites and they walk kids over. If it's, 110 or raining, we have a couple of vans that help us do that. And then we lost our middle school program about almost 3 years ago now for some staffing things that had happened. And that was heavy for me, was knowing a kid's done with 5th grade, they're going on to middle school. We did partner with Parks and Rec to provide them in their after school program, but it just wasn't the level of support that I felt we needed to provide. And so we were able to bring that program back this year, our after school program for middle school students. So we have that as well. And then the high school internship program was new to us this year. So we piloted that.
And for the benefit of those who are thinking, well, why are we just talking about Folsom? Because you've done it. And I would imagine there's many school districts that could use a similar support system for the students.
Yeah.
And that therein lies the value to say this can be done. There's ways to support these kids, to give them something to do after school. There is a program. They can call you.
Yeah.
You've demonstrated that it can be done. And that's the value in sharing the story, because here we are 18 years later and things have changed dramatically for the greater good.
Yeah.
You've seen not only your own kids go through it, but the children, I'm sure there's students now who you've seen who've come back from college.
Yes.
And remember some of the support that you gave them.
And we've had staff who have students who have been through our program who have come back as staff.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes, yeah. Yes, it's been,
That's like the greatest testimony to the program.
it is. It's a great joy. Yeah.
Tell me how a student learns that you exist. How do they know? How does a parent know that there's this option for this program to get their child in?
Yeah. So, I mean, a variety of ways. I would say today it's a lot of word of mouth. We have a lot of families who sibling after sibling come through our program, so parents already know about the program, but a lot of word of mouth of parents telling parents about the resource. But also the school sites know that we're around and they often send referrals our way or have people contact us. So almost exclusively, we have those 2 elementary schools that we service and then Sutter Middle School as well. So they're all very familiar with us and our programs. We still run our lunch buddy programs during the lunchtime at those 3 school sites as well. So
And those are 1 day a week?
1 day a week.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a variety of ways, but it is largely, if they're not already in our program, it often times is word of mouth. Yeah.
Okay. And then obviously you're not doing it alone. You've got the churches have been involved. Who are some of the collaborators that you work with? Because I can see all kinds of tentacles coming in to support and participate and work with, et cetera. So share some of the people you do work with.
Yeah, and that's actually something I think in the journey I've noticed about just a gift God's given me for like this creative problem solving around, we have this need, how do we make that happen? And it's usually through partnerships and collaboration. So through the years, we have had many partners. I would say, I mean, really our largest partner is still the school district, Folsom Cordova Unified, just working within and alongside the schools. The City of Folsom Parks and Rec is still a good partner in a lot of different ways, including after-school care for kids that don't necessarily come to our program or don't want to. For summer gap programming, they reduced any of my referrals, they will reduce the cost of and help financially.
Oh, how nice is that?
So yeah, there's a variety of ways that we still partner with them. Twin Lakes Food Bank, again, now they are right across the street from us, but they have been helping for years with just snack donations. With the move this year, we actually have a hospitality manager who cooks and serves a full meal to all of our kids every day that they come to the program. So as you can imagine.
Is there a kitchen in your facility?
There's a kitchen in the facility.
How nice is that?
So yes, it's great. So you walk into our facility, it smells like home because there's cooking going on. But yes, so that's a lot of mouths to feed. And the food bank has been so gracious. She basically provides them a list at the beginning of the week of things that she would like to have, and whatever they can provide to us, they do. In addition to that, they actually have their garden on the property where we are, just across the street from them, behind us. And so our kids are able to, through Michelle, who's the garden coordinator with the food bank, she allows our kids to come in and she works with them in the garden.
So they get an experience there that they wouldn't otherwise get either in classroom or at home for sure.
Yeah.
And see a tomato that grows and you can eat this thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or a squash or whatever it may be.
Exactly. Yep. So food bank is a great partner. We have a partnership, an MOU with Los Rios College District and with Sac State to employ federal work study students. So these are students who qualify for financial aid, but instead of opting to take out a loan, they decide to work. And it's a federally funded program that's run through colleges. So we actually get to employ these students at no cost to us. So they get paid, they're employed and paid by the college technically, but they work for us. So it's, I currently am employing 5 federal work study students, 1 in a classroom on campus at Theodore Judah and 4 with us after school.
That's fantastic to hear.
I mean, the staffing costs.
Right.
It's a huge benefit. So that's been a great partnership as well. We have lots of volunteer people that we work alongside. National Charity League is a mother-daughter organization that provides volunteers for a variety of things. We have a woman named Angela Hauk. She has a nonprofit called New Joy Arts, and she provides it's art with a social emotional learning bent to our students. She's there weekly doing that. Mercy Housing in Folsom. There's 2 Mercy Housing complexes that a lot of our students live at. And so, yeah, just partnering with them in terms of family communication and referrals from them and all of that. So they've been a great partner as well. Powerhouse Ministries, who was also in the 16 of the nonprofit
The cohort, for Fast Pitch, yes.
Exactly.
SVP's Fast Pitch.
We've walked alongside, partnered with them for years. We have another really great partner. And then, as you mentioned, churches for sure, funding and volunteers. They've been a great resource. Kaiser Permanente has actually been one of our largest funders for our after school piece for years and continues to be so. And then we have an annual golf tournament in October each year. So will be year 6 of that golf tournament, which is spearheaded by a local company called Goodfellows Brothers. So not even spearheaded by us. They came to us and said,
it's a nonprofit?
No, they're a construction company.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So they basically said, we'd like to do this. And we'd like
you're the beneficiary.
And I said, okay, that sounds
Sure.
good. And so between them and the other presenting sponsors, that is the single largest funding stream that we have each year. And that is, again, in October. It's largely contractors, subcontractors that they work with, but also, some banks, Kaiser sponsors here and there. So it's just, that's been an amazing, amazing.
Yeah, you have a lot of people surrounding.
A lot of people.
Such a small community organization.
Yes, exactly.
Which is wonderful. It's testament to the organization.
Yeah.
And what you're doing and what you're producing for the community. How are you funded?
Yeah. So, primarily through basically businesses, and so there's some local family foundations that fund us as well. But we have some major individual donors that are very generous. But again, we don't qualify. So you're talking about how this can be duplicated in any community, which is true. But I think that what makes Folsom unique in some ways is that, again, we don't qualify for the traditional grant funding stream. So on the Rancho Cordova side of our district, they qualify, almost all of those schools, for it's called an After-School Education and Safety Grant, ACES grant. And that specifically funds after-school programming for vulnerable youth. So we don't qualify for any of that type of government funding either as an organization. So all of our funding comes from, we apply for any grant we think we might benefit from or be able to qualify for. And it's different every year, but we do have some donors.
So you're basically starting from zero every year.
Not zero. We do have a lot of people
okay.
who continue to support us every year.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
So it's not a zero sum. It's a continuous.
Yes.
You know that they're going to be there to support you. Okay.
Yeah.
What is your budget? And I know you've grown exponentially because we had this conversation prior, which is amazing to me. Yeah. And to think that 2 years ago you're here, today you're here.
Yeah. Yeah. So we are finishing out. So our fiscal year runs July 1st to June 30th, like the school year. And so we're finishing out this fiscal year. We budgeted our budget's about $730,000 for this school year that we're finishing up. That's just almost double where we were because of the move, the expansion, and just everything that comes.
But the support, to go and grow like that.
Yeah. Well,
that's a lot of community.
It is.
Interest and willingness.
It is. We haven't gotten $730,000 of support yet.
Okay.
That's
what your budget's going to be.
That's a process. That is our budget. Exactly.
This is what we're going to help you do.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. But still, I can see you'll get there.
Yes. And we benefited for years. We really believed, and we're making strides toward building our own building on the campus, actually, of Theodore Judah Elementary School. We had gotten school district approval, school board approval to do that. We had submitted a couple of different rendering plans, architectural plans, to the Department of State Architect. And then in August of 24, our last plans, those expired. And this opportunity at Mount Olive came up. And we really felt like that door was closed for now. So I don't know
what that's going to
look like in the future. But we had the benefit of, even though we didn't make our goal of the $2.5 million to break ground, that was our goal. Mm-hmm. We saved a lot of money toward facility. And so we have some buffer right now, but we are actively working to increase our donor base and donations and grants and all that because we need it.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. Let's take a break to get a little education from another group. The people who make this program possible.
Make our communities bright with Smudge Shine Awards. Now through July 31st, your nonprofit can apply for a chance to receive funding for projects that improve and revitalize communities in our service area. We're seeking proposals that support zero carbon workforce development, affordability and community resiliency, economic development, and STEM education. Smudge Shine Awards are competitive and funds are limited. Submit your proposal by July 31st. Learn more at smud.org/shine.
I'm James Beckwith, President and CEO of Five Star Bank. We're dedicated to supporting nonprofit organizations who advocate for the strength, resilience, and vitality of those they serve. When nonprofit organizations thrive, our community does too. By supporting the Nonprofit Podcast Network, Five Star Bank is amplifying the voices and meaningful impact of our nonprofit community. We're Five Star Bank, a trusted nonprofit partner. How can we help you?
We are really excited to be part of the family and contribute to the work that you all are doing. CORE provides fractional and interim executive services, along with comprehensive back office solutions that go into our client sites and do the work to give them the capacity they need in order to move through transitions, whether that's planned or unplanned. Or companies also work with our accounting and finance, back office solutions, human resources, technology, and administration. The reason why our back office solutions add value is because we save them time and money, anywhere from 20 to 30% of what they would spend on that back office solution. We work in it so they can actually work on it. CXORE.com and contact me directly at DTEAT@CXORE.com.
If you're interested in learning more about how CORE may help your organization, visit CXORE.com.
Hello, this is Scott Thomas with Cap Trust in our Sacramento office. I specialize in working with local nonprofits and associations. Annually, we survey private and public nonprofit organizations across the country to better understand challenges they see in today's environment. In our more recent survey, we heard concerns about proper board governance, mission-aligned investment, and how to implement alternative investments. If you would like a copy of the survey or to discuss your organization, look me up, Scott Thomas at captrust.com.
I'm thrilled to have Western Health Advantage partnering with us as they do so much to support so many nonprofit agencies in our community. As a truly local health plan, you'll find individual and family options, employer options, plans for CalPERS and Medicare Advantage. From medical services to pharmacy, health and wellness support, as well as behavioral health care, Western Health Advantage has a plan that fits what you need. As an employer, for profit or nonprofit business, individual or family, you can find more at westernhealth.com.
Hi, I'm Brad Squires, CEO of Sacramento Venture Philanthropy. For more than a decade, SVP has brought together local donors, business leaders, and nonprofit changemakers to do philanthropy differently. Through pooled funding, hands-on mentorship, and programs like Fast Pitch and 100X, SVP helps nonprofits build real, long-term capacity, not just short-term solutions. If you're looking to go beyond writing the check and want to use your experience, your voice, your leadership to create a lasting impact and have a lot of fun doing it, now is the time to join SVP. Learn more about becoming a partner at svpsacramento.org.
Which is a great segue to the next question, which is somebody shows up and says, Salwa, I love what you're doing. This is a really neat program. I see it in the community. It may even be replicable somewhere, in other communities. Let's exercise it here and see what it does. I have a blank check for you if what you propose makes sense to me. What would it look like? What would be different? What would you do?
In terms of replicating the...
No. If somebody says, here's a blank check. Money's not an object.
Okay.
Now what?
Okay. In terms of our...
Yes.
Like what we would
Folsom
do with
Hope.
that. Yeah. I mean, a building, a place of our own, for sure.
I figured.
For sure. In fact, our middle school, we were, again, able to bring back that program after school this year, but we're capped at about 21 because the building that they are in
Size of
is
sheer capacity.
Yeah, exactly. So
even if you had the money, you couldn't jam them in.
Exactly. So a building, a place of our own that really could meet the needs of the students. Staffing costs were no if that weren't an issue, like, yeah, sky's the limit. Like, man, let's get a place where we could actually bring in all the students that need it and the staffing support.
And that's the question I'm going to ask you. The students who need it, what do you have an idea? Today you do X, and that services some percentage of need. What is the need of X plus? Is it 3 times what you're doing, 4 times, 5 times? How big is that need in the general facility, the general area, I should say?
That's a good question. I mean, what I can tell you is, so again, getting back to the Title I, the funding. So if a school site has 40% or more economically disadvantaged students, and that's classified in different ways, but largely through qualifying for free lunch, then they can apply for Title I status. So Blanche Prince Elementary last school year had 39.9% of their students who were economically disadvantaged, and Theodore Judah sat at about 32%. So I can, confidently say almost 1 in 4 students at Blanche, 1 in 3 at Judah definitely need that support in the elementary arena. And then as those students move up to middle and high school, obviously they need the continued support.
Boy, that's a catch-22 too, because you sit here and you go, oh, but if you get to 40%, you might qualify for Title I funding. But if you're getting to 40%, that means families are falling further and further behind in terms of income. It's not a good thing either.
Yes.
The good thing is you can support them differently. The bad thing is, meaning the community is outpricing the ability to really live comfortably in the community.
Absolutely. I mean, that's, I think, just a fact of our environment today. Things are getting harder. And unfortunately, Blanche Prince did go down a little this year. So they're hovering there, right? Like, okay, there's this pretty significant need, but it's not enough.
Right.
So
we get a building for you if all goes great. Let's come back now to reality today. What's the greatest need?
Yeah, I mean, the greatest need really would be funding. And that largely has to do with our staff, because we can only have as many students as we can support through our staff
programs.
And I definitely, believe that we're not going to bring students in just to get numbers in our program. We absolutely have to be sure that they are getting the support that they need, and that we are actively working to help them make gains in a variety of ways, not just academically, but we have a strong focus on social emotional learning as well in our program. So if we're not doing that, then there's really no point. Like, we need to be making sure that we're supporting students the way that we need to.
I didn't ask earlier, but what is the primary program? What program has the most demand on it?
It would be the after-school program for sure.
Okay.
Yep, the STARS after-school program.
Impact. I'm going to ask you because you've seen it now over the course of 18 years, including with your own children.
Yeah.
What are they doing now? Because they're all done, right?
They're all done. Yeah. So I have a 25-year-old daughter who has been married for 4 years, and I'm a grandma.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
2-year-old and a 9-month-old. Best thing ever. And then my son is 23. And he got a certificate at ARC for music recording. So he has got 3 different jobs he's working, doing mostly lighting, but sound, audio stuff.
Yep.
And then my youngest, who is 22, is a tattoo artist in Folsom, actually, at Folsom City Inc. No, I'm not kidding. Just minutes from our house. So, yes, so they're all finding their way and doing great.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
How about impact from students that you've seen who were really deep in the system? They're 1 in 4, 1 in 3. Yeah. Anything you can share, people you've seen come through? You mentioned some have come back. After a teaching degree or something, I'm assuming?
Yeah, no, not a teaching degree. So we don't require credentialed teachers to be in our program.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously experience with youth, but no, yeah. So I mean, so I can tell you, one of our staff members who actually left us to go find full-time employment, she was one of our first students in the after-school program, her and her sister, and she worked very hard to kind of break out of a dysfunctional cycle in her family. And she ended up at Powerhouse in the Women's and Children's Center, and that's where she came to work for us last year. And so she worked with us all the way till the point where she graduated from Powerhouse, and then again needed to get a full-time job. So yeah, and just really continuing to actively change the trajectory of her life. She has a little girl now for the benefit of her family. So.
And you can see as these kids come through and go on to whatever, as they do go on to other things and professional careers, and they're actually working and everything, that's beginning to change that cycle of generational poverty. I would imagine a different perspective as well with parental involvement too, because they saw it through the program that they didn't necessarily see at home prior.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have to say, I mean, yes, there are definitely students like her that, the parental involvement was minimal. Lots of dysfunction at home. But we actually have a very large population of Hispanic families in our programs. And I have never seen harder working parents ever. And really caring and supporting their students. They want them in our programs because they know that will help them with their education, with, all of the things that they need to be successful in the future. So yes, it's a mixed bag.
That's great to hear, though. It's great to hear that the parental involvement is there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
In terms of the system itself, now that you're 18 years old, you're emancipated. But as an 18-year-old program, is there demand on the program from the school system? Do they reach out and say, boy, could you do? Is there more you could do? Is there this, that, or the other, because they don't get any Title I funding?
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think we've ever gotten a demand from the school in terms of, or a request like.
I meant that not a demand, I should have said a request.
But as an organization, we certainly have been asking those questions each year, holding loosely, like, do we continue what we're doing? A, and B, now that we have our own home that we are in, it's allowed us to kind of dream this summer. Like, we've never done summer programming before. We've always just.
Oh, this is the first year.
This is the first year. So partnered with, there's again some local churches that will scholarship our kids in. Parks and Rec has some gap programming that we provide support for our families in. So there's just a variety of things that we've tried to do to give parents some ability to have their kids in programming.
And is there a fee for service for some of the programs, or they have to pay a stipend?
The summer programs
Yes.
specifically. So the churches are free. There is a fee for the Parks and Rec programs.
But that goes straight to the Parks and Rec, right? It doesn't.
Yes. Yeah. So basically, they cut their cost in half for our referrals. And then there is actually, through Hands for Hope, if you know about that organization.
No.
It's a youth volunteer organization. You should know about Hands for Hope.
Thank you. I do now.
So you should reach out to her.
I will.
And so they have a scholarship program specifically geared toward vulnerable youth and summer programming. So I have my families who want the full-time care that Parks and Rec provides apply for that scholarship to help support them. And if there's still a gap there, then we have a benevolence fund that we can use to help with that as well.
Okay.
But yeah, so this year in July, we're actually going to be doing some intervention programming because we definitely see, yes, we're doing a lot to move the needle in our after-school program, academically specifically, but there's a lot of our students who those building blocks were not there. And so we are doing mostly homework completion in the after-school program. There's not a lot of time for catch-up. And so by utilizing our summer to be able to have some fun summer clubs, not program, we're going to be able to support students with math and English from first through middle school. We've sent out some personalized invitations to students who we think could benefit from it the most.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Yeah.
Get them to grade level, whatever that grade level is in the particular study.
Exactly. Yep.
No, that's fantastic to hear. So one of the things that we see with all of our nonprofit leadership is you all tend to be very deeply involved in the mission. And it makes sense for good reason. But there's a human behind this too. You have your own family, you have your own life, there's things that you do. And so we've created this little segment called Beyond the Mission.
Okay.
Where it's just some rapid fire stuff for people to understand a little bit more about Salwa. What's she really like? what does she do? Is her person, not the mission, but the person. So I'm going to just throw 5, 6, 7, 8 questions at you so we can get a better feel. Favorite color?
Yellow.
First car?
Oh, a little Honda Civic.
Okay. Favorite food?
Oh, gosh. Probably carnitas street tacos.
Ah, I'm hungry. We're recording this at what, noonish, 1 o'clock? Best advice you've ever received?
Oh, from a mentor years ago. I used to clean her house, this woman, and she told me if she could do over again, she would not have gotten married before she got her graduate degree and was able to support herself financially. And that's what I did before I got married. So, yeah.
Very subtle, advice. Favorite exercise?
Biking.
Okay. And we had this conversation, so I was going to give you that one.
Yep.
And then what does a perfect day off look like for you?
A perfect day off. Probably cycling in the morning. Yeah, I mean, it would definitely have to include a little catnap in the afternoon. And I love doing puzzles and I love cooking. So probably a variety of all of that stuff.
And you just answered 2 of the questions that could come. No, that's perfect because people would be surprised to learn about you. Puzzles.
Yes.
Well, you're living one for the last 18 years for sure. There's a lot of pieces to put this all together.
Yes. Yeah.
So, Salwa, if somebody's interested in supporting the mission, what's the best way for them to learn more, to contribute, to get oriented, volunteer, whatever it is?
Yeah. I mean, our website, folsomshope.org. And when you go onto our website, a contact form pops up and you can submit your information there to get on our mailing list. But there's also a way to there's a contact form on the website. And all of those forms come to me. So I reply to all of those. So if someone reaches out and says, I want to volunteer, I'm always connecting with them to see what that looks like because there's a variety of ways they can do that. And then there's also a donate button on our website for any donations that people would like to make. And then obviously social media. We have an Instagram and Facebook account. So if you like us on social media, you'll continue to see kind of what's going on throughout the course of the year for us. I think, those are probably the best ways.
And we'll put all those in the show notes too, so that if somebody's listening, which most people do when they're doing something else, driving, exercising, whatever it may be, we can just go to the show notes on their episode and get the links directly.
Great.
Well, I, like many, recognize the way to prosperity and breaking the cycle of generational poverty is through education. And if we don't get our children oriented properly in the beginning, it's so much harder and so much more unlikely that they're going to be successful, and they won't necessarily do all the things that we wish and hope for them. And what you're doing is giving them this ramp up to get there in a situation that really isn't necessarily easy.
Yeah.
And so many kids don't have that opportunity. But the fact that you're identifying it, you've identified it, you've now been exercising it for 18 years, you see it, the growth that you've experienced is amazing. It's wonderful to see that that's there for the support in the community as the community grows. And for what you and your team do with Folsom's Hope in Folsom is really an incredible accomplishment. So thank you for what you do, and to your team, both your volunteers and your employees.
Absolutely. Yeah. Amazing team. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that.
Thank you, Jeff.
This episode has been powered by SMUD, Sacramento Municipal Utility District's Shine Awards program benefiting nonprofits for energy efficiency. Apply today. Thank you for listening to the Nonprofit Podcast Network. We hope today's episode inspired you and gave you a deeper look into the work of our local nonprofits. If you believe in our mission to amplify their voices, please take a moment to leave us a positive review and share this episode with a friend. It helps more people discover the incredible work happening in our community. Don't miss future episodes. Subscribe to our weekly updates and monthly newsletter at nonprofpod.com. And if you're a part of a nonprofit that would like to be featured, we'd love to hear from you. Just visit the Guest tab on our website. The Nonprofit Podcast Network is recorded and produced at Hear Me Now Studio with generous support from our partners, CapTrust, fiduciary advice for endowments and foundations, online at captrust.com. Western Health Advantage, local care with community impact. Find the plan that fits at westernhealth.com. CORE, executive leadership and comprehensive support services. Visit cxore.com. And 5 Star Bank, a local trusted advisor to community nonprofits for over 25 years. 5starbank.com. And finally, our episode sponsor, Sacramento Venture Philanthropy, a community of generosity combining people, expertise, and capital for good. svpsacramento.org.